Hey y'all, and welcome to At Home with Littles, a podcast where I talk to stay-at-home moms about what works for them and their families. I'm Katie Schultz, and this week marks 1 year of me staying home, which still feels absolutely wild. Normally, I'll just do a quick intro and then get straight to our guest, but since this is the very first episode, I wanted to share the why behind the show. So here's the thing, I'm not an expert. I have one child, she's barely a toddler, and as I just said, I've only been home for a year. I'm basically your resident non-expert. When I first made this transition, I really struggled. I went looking for a podcast like this one, and I just couldn't find what I needed. What I realized was that the real experts on staying home aren't necessarily academics or Instagram personalities. They're the moms that you meet at church or at the park or in your own family. The women you'd only learn from if you were lucky enough to cross paths with them naturally. So my goal is to bring those voices to you because no mom has it all figured out, but I do think every mom has something figured out and it's worth sharing. And to be completely honest, I almost didn't do this thing multiple times over. I actually owe it to a complete stranger at a baby shower. I was talking to this girl who was in the creator world at my friend Karin's baby shower about the podcast and my idea. And after I explained it, I said, "Oh, don't worry though, I'm not actually going to do it. I know starting a podcast is super cringy." She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Oh, that's funny. I feel like having a really good idea and being too afraid to do it is really cringy." That was enough. That was the push I needed to actually make this a reality. So here we are. And for our first conversation, I'm starting with someone that is my go-to mom. It's the girl who you text in the middle of the night or like when you have all of your random questions. She's a little bit further ahead than you and she actually remembers all of the things that you're currently dealing with. How do I unload groceries with a baby? And what do I bring to the hospital when I go into labor? She is my good friend, my sister-in-law, and an absolutely amazing mother. Let's get into it. Calynn, thank you so much for coming to the podcast. I can't wait to interview you and ask you a million more questions about parenting. As my sister-in-law and the mother of my niece and nephew, I get a front row seat to seeing you parent. It's a really good audience to be part of. So I'm happy for everybody else to get to be part of that same audience. To start us off, would you give me a quick intro, your family, your kids' ages, and how long you've been staying home?
I've been staying home since I was pregnant with my first daughter, who's now 5. And then I have a son who is 2, Noel and Charlie.
Awesome. And then your husband is my brother. That's how we are sister-in-laws.
Yes, he's part of the family as well. He is there.
He is there. Okay, well, just to kick us off, I would love to know, do you describe yourself as a type A mom or a type B mom?
Okay, when you say type A, I'm thinking like organized type A person.
Yes,
Yes?
yes, yeah.
Okay. I'm the opposite of that. So type B. If that is opposite from type A, then that is what I am. I saw something the other day that said, when you stop worrying about Play-Doh colors being mixed, you've leveled up as a mom. I've leveled up.
Leveled up for a while. I have a story about your niece, who I get the pleasure of parenting. She got a diaper rash. We were doing some gardening outside together. She was full Winnie the Pooh in it. We had no diaper, no pants, just getting some fresh air for that gross diaper rash. For truly, I looked down for 2 seconds because I was gardening, and she pooped not in our grass, but on our concrete slab. My dog went and tried to eat it. It's like, I
Yeah.
don't think you get the opportunity to be a true type A person when you're dealing with feral children.
I don't know how that's possible at all. People do it. And it's amazing.
Kudos to them. So, in general, you're more type B. As staying home, have you had to take on any practices or structured in order to make that work while maintaining your, I feel like, chillness? You're a pretty chill person.
I have definitely had to up some organizational skills. I make things work in my own way, I guess. Like as far as schedules throughout the day, I think that's really important. I've even had a professional organizer come to the house and organize things because I can't, and people who come and clean the house because it just doesn't happen for me. My priorities just never add up to that. Those are things that have helped me a lot. I felt a weird amount of guilt about it because I am home all the time. I thought when I first was going to stay home, I was going to have all this time to clean and play and read and rest. And somehow it just doesn't happen. Knowing that I deep clean every couple of weeks, so nice. I just had a professional organizer do my kitchen. She was able to go through a lot of stuff, throw it away, and organize it, and it makes all the difference.
That's awesome. Specifically knowing you're like, this isn't my skill set and it's someone else's.
Yeah. And being able to do that was very nice. I had to get over feeling ashamed or guilty about it and just be like, this is what I need. And this is going to help my mental health in general. Me actually having time to be with my kids because I'm not constantly trying to do other things. I have time to teach them and to play with them and to be present.
Yeah. Well, and one of the reasons I wanted to start this podcast is because with Instagram, you see everybody's highlight reel, but you never see what kind of like support that they get, what kind of help they get. And so you're going to see them perfectly teaching their kids in their perfectly organized playroom. It looks like dad's never around. They have
Right.
no child care and everything is just them and they do it wonderfully. And that's not realistic. We don't all have to be messy in every area of our life, but we all have some mess and some things figured out
I
to
love
about.
that.
So you mentioned we're going to talk about what you prioritize, like play and homeschooling and all those things that, again, I've gotten up close and personal, be able to see you do. Before we jump into that, what kind of support do you have day to day that enables you to focus on the things you want to prioritize?
Well, we're a little spoiled, our family. We have so much family in town. My parents live right next door. My sisters are both in town. You are 45 minutes away. My husband's parents are in town. We're a little spoiled in the support situation. So I know that's different than a lot of people's situation.
Have you ever had to hire a babysitter?
No, I've never had to hire a babysitter, which is wonderful. The kids go to Mother's Day out 2 times a week, and that's great as well. We found a great place for that where they are thriving and feeling comfortable and get that social aspect. We are very lucky in that sense for sure.
Drew and I are in the same situation of not having to have a babysitter yet, and it's just so different than so many people I know. I'm constantly counting my blessings on that. Okay, so let's dive into the things that you prioritize. You're someone who just really knows who they are, what they care about. Your oldest is 5, so we're still in preschool age, but you mentioned homeschooling. Can you expand upon that? Because I'd never heard people use the term homeschooling for earlier
Yeah.
than kindergarten first.
I used to work in early child care, and that's what my degree is in early child care. I love it. And I think it's so important at this young age. Noelle was born during COVID, and I had my niece with me at the time. We just had to get through a whole day of not being able to go anywhere. And that was super helpful. I knew how the structure of a school day worked. I had seen firsthand that you can implement a curriculum even for infants and younger toddlers. It's nothing extreme, but what's our color of the day? And then you have lots of colors that you're talking about. It's a red day. So we're going to talk about apples and we're going to eat an apple at snack and we're going to have all these different things that kind of go along with it. And so I was able to incorporate that and modify as they got older. And it was a really nice way to schedule my day and also know that I was feeding their brains as well. And it was as much for them, I feel like, as it was for me. And just to help with that, get through the day. We have outside time or we go outside and play, come back in for snack and lunch and all those kind of things. So your normal schedule for your day, but it was definitely thought through a school mind, I guess, the homeschool mind. That was one thing, the structure. I feel passionately that that kids right now, they're just little sponges and everything they're learning and talking about and seeing, soaking into their brains to feed that as much as possible and be very intentional, almost to a fault. But I try to be very intentional with how I speak to them and what we're doing and learning and actually have something planned rather than just kind of like, oh, look, today, look at that. There's a daisy outside. Like, let's learn about a daisy, but there's actually a whole week that we talk about flowers. Kids are going to learn and teach. Is just my way of approaching, I feel, is very specific to what I know and what works for our family.
One of the tropes of staying home is that every day is the same and feels monotonous. But what you're saying is like planning to where each day, like a red day and a blue day, that alone makes it feel different. It also sounds like bringing in your experience from your past job into your new job. If we treat this as a job, you're going to bring in your past experience and use it to shape your new one. And your past experience was really applicable, Calynn. It really applies to this.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Something I still struggle with is understanding what it means to be a stay-at-home mom. Is it a job or is it not? I mean, it's both. It has the same pressure as a job. There's things you have to do, but I think you have to figure out that identity in yourself. And that transition is a whole other thing. At least it was for me, where I had to realize I'm not this childcare teacher in my son. I can actually just say, no, we're not doing that. Rather than sometimes as a teacher, you have to be very, let's go to our thinking corner and have a calm down moment, which I do sometimes still. And I want to be able to have those emotional regulations and things that I'm teaching them. But sometimes as a parent, you can, in my opinion, be a parent and say, we're not going to do that. And that's that. Finding that balance in my head was really hard. That identity of who am I as a mom? And I think you slowly grow and find that out through who your kids are because you're learning who your kids are and also learning who you are in this situation and changing. There's a lot that goes on that you have to figure out.
I remember you once told Drew and I that something can be on paper correct, but that doesn't mean you have to choose to do it. You're the parent and you get to choose. And that was really freeing to us because I just Google everything and try to find exactly the right answer.
Yeah.
And there's not always a right answer. You're not getting graded on this.
Right. Well, I do think that is a big thing you figure out, especially the moment you find out you're a mom. This situation comes into play. Immediately you're Googling, what can I eat? What can I not eat? What can I do? What can I lift? How can I exercise? You see polar opposites of every topic that comes up. At some point, you read those things, but you have to be the one to make the decision. And that is wild. And it is also, like you said, freeing and empowering in a way too. It prepares you to start doing that when you have a baby and you have this child in your arms. All of a sudden, you're able to start making these decisions. It's a growth situation, and you get to do that with your husband or partner and your babies. And it's just a beautiful thing, I think. I didn't at first, but I think it's beautiful now.
Do you feel like you identify with the title of stay-at-home mom, or does that still feel like it doesn't exactly feel like what you're doing?
I think I needed to get over some type of stigma. I don't know why, but I'd accept it. I'd accept that that's what I am. And not in a bad way. Stigma is probably the wrong word. I just had to accept that that is what I was, that it was like we were talking about a job, that it is something with responsibilities. And I still don't feel like I 100% feel like that yet, but the acceptance of it is happening. And that's been freeing. This is what I'm doing. This is my family. Growing up as a kid, I never like looked at my parents or family and thought anything. I just went with the flow. Now that I get to choose the fun things. I am the person in charge. Oh no. So
It can feel daunting to me
yeah.
that I am in charge of my child's
Oh,
childhood. You do that so effortlessly. Even before you had the kids, you were great at celebrating holidays or family traditions and spiking joy into situations. Do you think that came from daycare, or is that just who you are?
oh man. I think that came from my family. My mom and dad, they were both educators, and so when we were home for the holidays, we got to celebrate all the holidays and love Christmas. Our whole family's big Christmas people. It was Never anything really big either. We never had big parties. Every New Year's Eve at home, my dad played in a polka band. And so he was out gigging. It was me, my sisters, and my mom, and we had sparkling grape juice, played games, stayed up and had fun. And there's reasons to celebrate. I think it is who I am as a person too. I have been told that I am a happy person, which I agree.
Agree.
I like to celebrate things. I like people to be happy. I'm very optimistic. I just like to see good things happen. We get to celebrate people, birthdays. I love birthdays. You get to celebrate a person for a whole day. Amazing. It's just making people feel good makes me feel good. One of my favorite memories with y'all's family was New Year's Eve in LaGrange. And I just brought lights and noisemakers and all the things, and we literally marched around and sang songs.
I think of my family as fun, but we didn't have any of the like you came in, you're like, guys, this is how you do this. I was in town 2 weeks ago or whenever it was. I texted you and I was like, do you have any plans for tomorrow? Do you want to hang out? And you're like, oh, we're making green pancakes. Oh, right. It is St. Patrick's Day.
Like everyone else, right?
What is some of your favorite traditions that you feel like the kids really love?
Noelle is the person who remembers everything. So I have to be careful. I've come to realize with Noelle, because if I do something one year, it becomes an expectation.
You and Noelle like some kind of annual date, don't y'all?
We do. I was talking earlier about being intentional, and it's not just with homeschooling stuff. I feel like sometimes it's to a fault because I put a lot of pressure on myself. When she turned 6 months old, we were sitting in our kitchen. She had this little Fisher Price coffee cup teether type thing. I posted a picture that said coffee date with Noelle today. And I had my mom coffee mug, and this was at home. And then it popped up a year later, and I said, we need to have an annual coffee date. So her and I went to a local bakery, had her coffee, and she had her water. Her choice, not ours. We've tried to get her to drink other things, but she just refuses. Anyway, we started doing that every year. It's been super fun. I think it's something that is I want to continue through her adult days. It's something I have manipulated to keep our relationship. We have one day a year at least that we are getting coffee because it is a tradition. So no matter what happens in our lives, there's going to be one day where we will be together and it will be fine. That was my intention. I know that's probably the opposite of the fun tradition, but it is literally me like, please love me forever and at least one day a year for when you're an adult and a teenager.
This is mom guilt starting at 6 months old. Give me a call for our annual coffee date. How would you describe the season of motherhood that you're in right now?
Ooh, as a mom right now, it is past the like super nurturing time and more really preparing them for the next step. So the expectations of them are getting to be a little higher, I suppose. They don't get away with just being cute as much. They are expected to use manners and sit at the table. That's a different stage than the toddler area. When they're both toddlers, everything's accepted. They're just little. It's okay. That kind of thing. This is now they're getting bigger. Now they are about to go into the real world and be with children and people who might not always be nice, might not always say things that are appropriate. You're starting to have to build this trust and open relationship and communication and figure out what that means to a 5-year-old. I'm wanting to open that door so she's comfortable and she knows those things. I have this 2-year-old who's running around and being crazy all the time. That is an interesting place to be right now compared to infant season where you just get to hold your baby all day and be happy with them. They can do no wrong and nothing can go wrong with them. They're so safe. And now you're having to let go a little bit, and that is tough. I think I am starting to have to let go a bit, and that is tough. Well, the other day we were in the car and we were talking about something, and she goes, that was stupid. And I was like, What? She used it correctly. What are we doing? When did this start happening?
I'd love to talk about some practical things that you have figured out. You've given me a lot of great advice over the years. I want to hear you talk about them, being type B, but then also being in charge of little people. There's some like practices that you put in place.
I plan to leave at least 30 minutes ahead of time. If you get there 30 minutes early, that's fine. If you get there 30 minutes late, not as great. I start getting my kids ready 30 minutes before we leave. If everything goes smoothly, like shoes are on fast, we get out the door, all is good. I actually remembered everything. We're in the car. We're 25 minutes early. I can stop and get a coffee.
Worst case.
But most likely it takes a while to get out of the house, especially at this age, because you have a 2-year-old who wants to be independent. You have a 5-year-old who wants to help and makes things slower. Then you get in the car. One child wants to open a door by herself, but she can barely reach the handle. And the other child wants to crawl in by himself, but he can't quite get up there yet. And so he tries and tries and tries, and then you have to help him up. Also, I got this advice from my sister to always bring your diaper bag wherever you go, even if you're running into the store really quick. That's when disasters are going to happen. So take your diaper bag no matter what. Have a little fanny pack that you take in that has an extra diaper and wipes in it, just in case. And that has proven to be very true. Am thankful that my sister told me that because things have happened.
You had mentioned like a fanny pack type thing to me at one point, and I just transitioned to a fake bagoo bag, which essentially is like a fanny pack
Yeah.
with wallet, keys, 2 diapers, some wipes, and then the diaper bag in the car. Feel like I'm like, is this toddlerhood? I don't need like 3 pairs of clothes.
I had a problem with the big diaper bag in grocery stores. I cannot tell you how many things I knocked over because it was on my back. Because I couldn't put it in the basket because I had to fill my basket. So I would turn, I'd knock things over, and it's just the whole deal. So big fanny pack fan,
Big
shoulder
fanny
bag,
pack.
whatever you want to use it as. It depends how cool you are, I suppose.
I had some college girls today ask me where my bag was from, so I'm very cool. Left feeling really good.
Proud of you.
Calynn, I am clearly big on getting help from other moms. You know that well because I've gotten help from you a million times. But can you share a mom who has impacted your experience staying home?
Lucky enough to have quite a few. My sister is amazing. She has 2 kids who are now 11 and 7, which is wild. She was always there to listen, and her biggest advice to me was, especially in the younger years, breastfeeding and sickness. And I was exhausted. And she would always say, it's temporary. It's not going to last forever. It'll be over soon. Just hearing that from another mom who's been there, hearing her say, you're going to get through it. It's temporary and you'll forget all about it. And it's just very true. You move forward and you get through it, and it is temporary. Another mom that is super important, and one of my closest friends, she has 2 kids that are the same age as me. Her name's Katie as well. She was my mom friend who is going through every season with me. We have this great connection where we get to go through everything together, especially through the first years with Noelle and her son. We would have wine dates once a week and vent about how awful things were. She was the only person I felt comfortable enough to be with and say, this, no one told us about how much this was. And she would be like, I know, I'm so tired. I've gone through like 10 audiobooks just because I'm not sleeping. On the other hand, the one person I felt really comfortable with, we could just sit there and brag about our children and ourselves and our husbands and talk about how great things were. But I felt like I would be annoying talking about, My daughter is starting to knows all her letters. She knows these. She's starting to read. She'd be like, he's playing violin. I was like, this is so cool. And it's this safe place where it's not a competition. It's just this mom who we really feel so comfortable with each other and want the best for each other's kids. Having that relationship with that person and being able to just say all those things was also great. We would spend hours literally just talking about great things, sad things, hard things, and no judgment anywhere. And advice when advice was needed. It's just this great mom person in my life who I think everyone should try to find if possible.
Yeah.
And probably people are looking, so put an ad out somewhere. I need a mom to talk to.
Someone who's in the same stage as you is so important. When you talk to your mom or mother-in-law, they're trying to look back so far to remember it.
Yeah.
Luckily, you don't really remember the sleepless nights quite as much. I hope that by the time Juliet is an adult, I don't remember. Last night we went to bed at 7:30 p.m. because she was sick and we knew we were going to be up all night. That's the reality we live in now.
Yeah.
I hope that people take from this conversation a desire to be more intentional. I hope that someone who's going from infant to toddler to having a little kid, they are looking at this as, I don't want to just survive, I want to thrive, I want to teach. So if someone's trying to go from 0 to 1 in that intentionality, what would be your advice for them?
Say keep it simple when you're talking to your kids and they ask you a question like, why is my soda can wet right now? You can actually use real words like, oh, that's condensation, and talk about as much about as condensation as you can, even to this like 2 or 3 year old. I know that sounds crazy, like they don't know the word condensation, but that's because it hasn't been told to them yet. And I love that. That was one of the biggest light bulbs that I got when I was pregnant with Noelle. Being intentional and using real words and conversations when you're talking to kids and explaining things to them. The guy who was talking about it was like, when my kids ask me a question, I tell them the most real answer I can. He used the example of how does a light switch work? In his explanation, he used the word circuit, and using those words actually start to add more questions and things in their brains. But what that did for me is realize that every conversation can be intentional. So you don't have to start this whole curriculum and do a whole thing every day. Just maybe start with being intentional in how you're speaking to your kids. And then after that, if you want to add more to it, make it easy. Think of the basic things they're learning: color, shapes, letters, numbers. All those things are great to start with, especially with the ages of 0 to 2 and 3, which I know sounds 3 is probably where you start getting more advanced, I suppose, finger quotes, but probably 0 to 2, letters, numbers, shapes, color, sensory things, those are all great things to incorporate. And you can saying in your brain, I want to talk all about the letter A and the color red this week. And then every chance you get, talk about those things.
You are such a wonderful mom to them. It's such a wonderful blessing of mine to get to watch you parent and watch your intentionality and to see the way that you just bring joy into every situation and create memories with your kiddos. They are wonderful, and I really just treasure the cousin time that we get and looking forward to more of that. So thank you, and I really appreciate you talking with me. And that's a wrap on episode 1. Thanks for listening to At Home with Littles. If you found something helpful, encouraging, or just plain relatable today, would you share this episode with a mom friend? Word of mouth is the very best way to help this podcast grow and reach more moms like you. You can find us on Instagram. Our handle is At Home with Littles Pod. And don't forget to subscribe so you'll be the first to know when a new episode drops.